Alright, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I am an avid herpetologist, and I am here with another fun deck profile for the Digimon TCG EX3 format. Today we're going to be covering a pretty unique deck, colloquially known as Dorbickmon OTK. This deck revolves around playing around a rare from EX3, of course, Dorbickmon himself. It's a very unique deck that focuses around playing cards with the, quote, dragon trait. Now, there's an errata that dragon in traits is going to refer to anything that has a name including dragonkin. It could also mean something containing soar or ceratopsian. So it's going to cover a pretty wide range of Digimon, covering all the way back from BT1 and beyond, as well as some brand new cards from EX3 that create a very unique OTK strategy. Now we're going to be doing this deck profile a little bit different than normal. We're going to begin by talking about the Mega himself, that is Dorbickmon. We are of course going to be playing 4 copies of the title card. Now Dorbickmon has a lot of effects. There's a lot to go over on this particular card. To begin with, it is 13 to play, 12,000 DP, and is 4 to Digivolve. Most of that is not super relevant, as we are going to be hard playing this card with a Digicross mechanic. For those of you unfamiliar, Digicross is when you are playing a card from your hand. You can combine a set of cards from your hand or field underneath of the card you are playing in order to reduce its cost by an amount for each card you place. In the case of Dorbickmon here, he has Digicross 2, and he's able to Digicross any 5 Digimon with the dragon trait that I mentioned before. So anything that has a trait containing the words dragon, soar, or ceratopsian. So like dinosaur, plesiosaur, etc. So basically, you're able to use 5. Each of the 5 that you place is going to reduce his ultimate play cost by 2. And since you're able to place 5 cards, ideally you're going to be reducing by 10 and able to play this guy for only 3 memory, enabling your OTKs. Now, the way this Digimechanic works, you need to choose 5 cards that have different names if you want to get full value. So unlike MasterTyrannomon, where you're able to choose cards with different numbers, this card does need to choose cards that have unique names. So if you have Growlmon from starter deck Guilmon and Growlmon from any of the other sets like EX3, you can only use one of those Growlmon in one particular Digicross stack. So it's important to keep that in mind if you decide to play this deck. Now this card also has Rush, meaning it is able to attack the turn it comes into play, again very important for enabling OTKs. It also has an on-play ability that deletes one of your opponent's Digimon with 3000 DP or less, and then for each card with Dragon in its traits in this Digimon's sources, add 2000 DP to the maximum DP you can choose with this effect. So again, if you decide to, are able to use the full amount of 5, you basically would add an extra 10,000 DP, so you can delete something up to 13,000 DP just by playing this card from your hand. So a nice little tempo swing that is also phenomenal form of spot removal. So this deck strategy is basically churning through your cards, the cards in your deck as quickly as you can, drawing a lot of cards very quickly so you can drop this guy with a ton of extra security checks and then ultimately swinging for game. If you're looking for a fun deck that you can use to take down some locals, this deck will absolutely get the job done. It's able to catch your opponent off guard very, very well, and you'll absolutely steal some cool wins if you decide to run a strategy like this. So, starting that off, we do have our 4 copies of our only Mega. Now we're going to go ahead and get into our eggs just like we normally would. For this deck, we're going to be playing 4 copies of Gigimon from EX2. And of course, going right along with the Gigimon, we are going to be playing the 4 copies of promo Guilmon. This is going to be a very standard, very popular draw package. So basically this Gigimon has the inheritable, where if this Digimon's name is Guilmon, Growlmon, or Gallantmon, when it attacks, you can draw a card. And then the Guilmon, our promo here, just has an when attacking, draw 1. So basically, you're going to Digivolve your Guilmons onto your Gigimons, swing to draw 2, and more than likely your Guilmon is going to die. That's okay. We are really only trying to get that draw 2, and then we don't really care what happens to our rookie. Now, it's important to make mention that this Guilmon is not a dragon, it is a reptile. Reptile is not included in the dragon errata, so we want to make sure that we keep in mind this card is here just to draw us cards. It will not be able to be used for Digicrossing, so do not hold on to them, they do not work. The other 4 set that we're going to be playing in our rookie slot is 4 copies of Sunarizamon from also EX3. Now this Sunarizamon is 3 to play, 2000 DP, and as a when attacking effect to reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, you can add any Digimon with Dragon and its traits from among them to your hand, place the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. So these 8 cards are basically going to be our dig team. These are going to be the cards we're going to use to add cards to our hand super rapidly very early on in the game, with just raw card draw, drawing 2 when we swing with our Guilmons, or simply card filtering, being able to look at our top 3 and choose which one we want, thanks to Sunarizamon. So now we're going to start getting into the bulk of the deck, which is lots and lots and lots of dragon cards with different names. To begin, we are going to be playing 2 copies of Growlmon X Antibody. Now, the ability to digivolve this onto our copies of Guilmon is kind of icing, but it is super nice in order to help us deal with potential floodgates. Cards like the structure deck Chikorrimon and Solarmon, as well as Psychmon, that remove our ability to reduce our play costs, will absolutely shut this deck down. So it's important to have some ways to handle those, and Growlmon X Antibody is one of them. Now, even though Guilmon himself is a reptile, Growlmon X Antibody is considered a dark dragon, so he is considered a dragon for the use of your Dorbickmon crossing. Now, Growlmon X does have an inheritable. Most of the cards we're covering are going to be in here for their valuable inheritables. The inheritable on Growlmon X lets you add 1000 DP to the maximum DP deletion, able to be chosen with DP-based effects. So basically, it's just going to add an additional 1000 DP, allowing Dorbickmon to delete up to 14,000 DP Digimon. Not going to come up super often, but since we're looking for extra bodies, Growlmon X is a very worthy inclusion in this particular list. The next thing we're going to be running in our rookie slot is Agumon from starter deck Gallantmon. This Agumon has an inheritable where when attacking a player, the Digimon gets plus 2000 DP. Now this Agumon, the Agumon from the Agumon that has the bands on its wrist. There's 2 different versions of Agumon. Agumon from the original anime, and then there's Agumon from Digimon Data Squad. The Data Squad one is considered a dinosaur. The original Agumon is considered a reptile. So this, as far as red is concerned, is the only Agumon that is going to count for a particular dragon inheritable, since dinosaur is included. So another thing to keep use of, the original starter deck Agumon will not work. That generic plus 1000 DP, we cannot use that because it's a reptile. The last rookie we're going to be playing a copy of is going to be Jazamon. You're probably already seeing we're playing a lot of 1s and 2s in this deck. Since we are looking for unique names, we want to make sure we're not playing too many 3s and 4s. We want to make sure we're seeing a variety of cards as we are churning through our deck, so playing lots of 1 and 2s will help us provide a wider spread of different names that we're going to be seeing. Now, Jazamon has an inheritable all turns, while this Digimon has an on-play effect. It gets plus 1000 DP. This, of course, works since our Dorbickmon has an on-play deletion effect, so those abilities do work. Now, Jazamon also has a Your Turn effect, where if you play a Mina Korihara from your hand, you can gain a memory. We're not playing any copies of Mina, though, so not super relevant in this case. All right, we're going to move up into our champions next. First, we are going to be playing 2 copies of starter deck Greymon. So this copy of Greymon, most people already are pretty aware of. It is 5 to play, 4000 DP, 2 to digivolve, and has a generic security +1 inheritable. This is going to be the first of many of our security +1 inheritables that we're going to be seeing in this deck. Since we are trying to stack as many of those as we can, so Dorbickmon is capable of OTKing very quickly, we are going to be playing quite a few different versions of that. Next up, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Growlmon from starter deck Gallantmon. This Growlmon is 4 to play, 5000 DP, has 2 to digivolve, and has an inheritable where once per turn on your turn, if you delete an opponent's Digimon, gain a memory. This is actually super nice because it lets us play Dorbickmon for only a cost of 2, basically. So if we play our Dorbickmon with a full cross of 5, including this Growlmon and the inheritables, it will cost us 3, then we'll gain a memory back, making it only cost 2, which is going to help us play the Dorbickmon without having to pass turn. We are playing another version of Growlmon. Again, remember, you can only use one of these in a particular stack, but we're playing 1 copy of Growlmon from EX3. Now, there's actually a couple of different things to talk about with this Growlmon. First of all, it is 5 to play, 5000 DP, and 3 to digivolve, but only from a purple, so we cannot digivolve it in this deck. However, it is able to digivolve for a cost of 2 from any Guilmon, so technically it can digivolve from our promo Guilmons. Now it has an on deletion effect to delete one of your opponent's Digimon, 3000 DP or less. This again is going to be super helpful for helping us deal with floodgates. So good again to remember that this is going to be one of your outs for those. But if you are unable to delete a Digimon with this effect when it gets deleted, both players would then trash 2 cards from the top of their deck. The inheritable for this Growlmon is when attacking once per turn, you can delete one of your other Digimon to have this Digimon gain security attack +1. So again, another option for a potential extra security bonus. We are playing one single copy of Growlmon X Antibody. This Growlmon is 5 to play, 6000 DP, 2 to Digivolve. Has a Your Turn inheritable where you can again add 1000 max DP to your DP-based deletion effects. So combining this with Guilmon X lets you cap your deletion effects around 15,000, tall enough to deal with Decklist and pretty much any other super troublesome Digimon you'll find running around in the meta. We're also playing a single copy of Flarerizamon from EX3. Flarerizamon has an inheritable when attacking. If this Digimon has Dragon, Soar, Ceratopsian in one of its traits, again, draw 1 card. So nice little draw advantage engine, so if you don't manage to OTK with Dorbickmon, you'll be able to recuperate some of your value and potentially build into a second one. Next up, we are playing, in our last champion slot, 2 copies of BurningGreymon. Now this particular BurningGreymon is 6 to play, 6000 DP. It is 3 to Digivolve from a level 4, 1 from a level 5. However, it is also able to Digivolve onto one of your Tamers for a cost of 2. This is, of course, a hybrid. Now, we don't really need to worry about the when Digivolving. We are not playing any cards to proc it. However, the primary reason we are playing BurningGreymon is not only is this a 2 to Digivolve hybrid, just like you would typically find with like Agumon, for instance, this particular BurningGreymon is, of course, a Dark Dragon, meaning it is usable in our Digicross stacks. So not only is this a great way to end the game, but it's going to be another unique name that we can use with our Dorbickmons. Moving up into our ultimates, we are playing 2 copies of Volcdramon from BT4. This Volcdramon also has the generic inheritable of security attack +1, as does the next card on our list, which is going to be MasterTyrannomon. MasterTyrannomon is a dinosaur, so it will count under the errata for Dragon. It is 8 to play, 8000 DP, 4 to Digivolve. Has, while in play, all of your Digimon with Tyrannomon get security +1. So if this is in play for some reason, you can also swing in for an extra security check. And again, the inheritable is a bonus security attack +1. Next up, we are playing 2 copies of Jazarichmon. Now this version of Jazarichmon is 8 to play, 7000 DP. It is 3 to Digivolve from black or red. Has an on play, D-Digivolve 1 of your opponent's Digimon, then it lets you play again a Hina from your hand. We are not playing Hina, but if you ever do happen to play it, that D-Digivolve effect can be helpful. And the inheritable, once per turn, if this Digimon has an on-play effect, it has security attack +1. So same deal, since our Dorbickmon has that on-play, that's going to count as another body for us. We're also playing a single copy of Volcdramon from EX3 with, again, an inheritable. When attacking once per turn, if this Digimon has Dragon, Soar, or Ceratopsian in one of its traits, draw 1 card. And the last ultimate level that we are playing is a copy of Lavogaritamon, again, also from EX3. This Lavogaritamon also does have an on-play effect, so we'll mention that briefly, to delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 5000 DP or less. So these 2 cards having on-plays can be kind of helpful if you're ever in a pinch. But again, the inheritable, which is more important, all turns once per turn. When an opponent's Digimon is deleted, if this Digimon has an on-play effect, gain a memory. So very similar to our structure deck Growlmon, this will help us play our Dorbickmons without passing turn if we do not have a memory setter. Now, we've already talked about Dorbickmon. Of course, we are going to be playing 4 copies of our title card. Your goal is to basically find any 5 of these, put them under Dorbickmon, swing in for as many security checks as you can, and ideally end the game on the spot. If you can't end the game right away, we are, of course, going to be playing 2 copies of Blitz Omnimon. This should be a no-brainer for an OTK deck. This Omnimon is pretty famous. We'll talk about it very briefly. It is 15 to play, 14,000 DP, 4 to Digivolve from a red or blue. When Digivolving, it blitzes, so even if you pass the turn, it will still be able to attack, and when Digivolving, unsuspend. So if you're able to play Dorbickmon, swing in, and completely clear your opponent's security, you can then Digivolve into Omnimon and attack 1 additional time for game. So super helpful there. We are also going to be playing Memory Setters. We are playing 4 copies of Tai Kamiya from BT1. This Tai Kamiya is 4 to play. Set your memory to 3 at the start of the turn. And as an effect, where all of your red Digimon with 4 or more Digivolution cards have an additional security attack +1. So again, still pushing towards that extra security attack. You're probably seeing this deck is very similar to the ancient Greymon deck that ran around a little bit, but being able to play off a completely empty board thanks to a Digicross hard play mega for only 3, you are able to really absolutely smash your opponent's security into oblivion out of nowhere. This Tai will almost always be live on your Dorbickmon since you're going to be Digicrossing up to 5 cards. So as an extra security attack, this is pretty much a no-brainer for your memory tamer. Now we're moving into our options. We're actually playing quite a few option cards here. We're going to begin with 4 copies of Fireball. Right alongside that, we are also playing 3 copies of Heroes of the Sky. We're going to go ahead and talk about both of these because they are in here for the exact same reason. Both of these cards are 2 to play. Fireball has an effect to delete one of your opponent's Digimon, 3000 DP or less. If it does not delete a Digimon by this effect, draw 2 cards. And the security effect is to activate the main effect. Hero of the Skies, on the other hand, is again 2 to play, and it lets you activate one of the below effects unless you control Shoutmon Cross 5, which we will not. One of the effects gives one of your Digimon with Cross Heart security +1. That is irrelevant. We don't use that. The other effect is, again, just to draw 2 cards. So we're playing 7 copies of these options that will simply draw us 2 cards. These are, again, going to help us churn through our deck very quickly. This is a deck that wants to build a lot of cards in hand so we can drop all of them for a really big Dorbickmon as early as we can. So having a bunch of copies of these where we can chain one into another, ultimately having 7 cards that are able to draw us 2, will help us get a ton of advantage super early, hopefully being able to smash way before your opponent is able to set up. Now, the security effect of Hero of the Skies, unfortunately, does not activate the main effect, but it does add it to hand, so at least you can use it on the next turn. The reason that we are going to be playing 4 copies of Fireball and only 3 copies of Hero on the Sky is, again, we want to make sure we have answers to Floodgates. Fireball being able to get rid of Chikurimon, Solarmon, and Psychmon will help make sure that our game plan is set up and we are able to OTK when that time comes. 2 more cards that we're going to be playing in our option slots are going to be 2 copies of Red Memory Boost, since we do need to find copies of Dorbickmon in order for this deck to actually perform its grand OTK. This card is, again, a pretty easy include. We are playing so much card filtering over our list here. This is going to be just a little bit of additional filtering to help us dig even deeper and find the pieces that we need. And finally, the last 2 cards we are going to be playing are 2 copies of A Delicate Plan. This card is super valuable for any OTK strategy. It is 1 to play, has a main effect where one of your Digimon gains. This Digimon does not activate security effects of the cards it checks for the rest of the turn. So if we have a good setup where we can play Dorbickmon for 3, ideally with a memory setter, so we started the turn at 3, we'll then ideally gain a memory back off of our Growlmon or Lavogaritamon, giving us 1 memory still, or we can potentially pop a memory boost. We're able to play Delicate Plan for a single memory, swing into their security with Dorbickmon, and as long as they don't have something bigger than him, that is going to be pretty much their entire security in 1 shot. So basically, we want to make sure that we are not checking any problematic option cards like Chaos Degradation or Cocytus Breath that can put a stop to our OTK in 1 fell swoop. This deck does burn through a lot of resources very quickly, which is why having so much draw power is, of course, valuable, since we're going to not only be playing Dorbickmon from our hand, but more than likely 5 other cards from our hand underneath him in our big explosive play. We want to make sure that we are not losing all of that advantage in 1 go. With that, that is going to do it for this quick deck profile for you guys. I hope you guys enjoy these kinds of deck profiles. I certainly have been having an absolute blast with this deck. It is super, super fun if you want to take it to a locals. It is absolutely able to compete even in a more competitive meta. So yeah, if you're looking for something fun to try at your next locals, consider giving Dorbickmon OTK a try. With that, thank you all so much for joining us tonight. This is an avid herpetologist. If you guys are enjoying the content, I hope you guys like and subscribe. Feel free to leave a comment down below with your suggestions for other changes we can make to Dorbickmon OTK. Honestly, there are so many different cards that can be included in this archetype that we'll probably wind up doing a deep dive deck profile for this archetype at some point, as there are a lot of cards that can be covered, but this is my current list. I hope you guys like it. With that, I hope you guys have a great rest of your night, and I will see you all next time.